Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening to all of you. Thank you so much for joining the Gold Standards webinar on Paris Agreement alignment. Thank you for making the time, and hopefully you'll get to speak to us, ask questions, and learn about what this announcement and our plans are going forward. So I'll start. Today during the webinar, you'll hear from me. I'm Margaret Kim, Maggie, the CEO of Gold Standard. You'll also be hearing from our Chief Technical Officer, Owen, on the technical updates, and our Senior Director of Standard GS for GG, Vikash, will be also here to listen to you and respond to some of the questions emerging since the announcement. Let me get started. So we're really entering a new phase for Gold Standard for the global goals, transitioning to methodologies aligned with the Paris Agreement. And the announcement we made on 6th of October is the next stage in a strategic decision we took in 2021 to ensure our standard remained at the cutting edge of the carbon markets. This isn't just a technical update, and it's really about ensuring that the projects certified under Gold Standard continue to deliver trusted, high impact results in a market that's rapidly evolving. We recognize that this is a challenging phase for some projects and some programs, but it's also an opportunity to continue our collective demonstration of integrity aligned with science, safeguard value, and really work together to shape the future of credible climate finance. And the transition has been designed to balance the rigor required with a pragmatic approach to implementation. So why this change and why now? The world is moving decisively into the Paris era, and countries are implementing national climate targets. Article 6 frameworks are maturing, and we've been hearing about a lot of progress that's been made from UNFCCC and the member states. And market expectations are shifting toward Paris-aligned credits. And if we don't act now, projects and buyers could face uncertainties, limited market access, and reduced credibility. Gold Standard is taking proactive steps to protect our stakeholders from these risks. We're acting to ensure our credits remain robust, relevant, and recognized in all of our major markets. The changes are necessary to maintain the credibility of Gold Standard credits and therefore mandatory for all projects. So what this alignment means is that this transition updates how emission reductions and removals are quantified and verified to reflect the best available science and global best practice. With the adoption of the Paris Agreement, countries agreed to long-term goals to limit global temperature increases and transition towards net zero economies. And these updates will ensure that our standard supports and aligns with these goals, avoiding lock-in of incompatible technologies and crediting levels. This means our crediting will be in line with Paris temperature and net zero goals. So our aim is to first maximize market viability and manage risk by ensuring that Gold Standard credits remain eligible and valued across voluntary and compliance-linked markets. And it also aims to reinforce integrity and ambition, ensuring credits credibly contribute to raising global ambition over time under the Paris framework, and to keep Gold Standard and your projects and our projects at the forefront of the market by applying the best available science and evolving best practice, as has always guided our work. This represents the next step in our continuous efforts to reflect science and best practice through our standard, ensuring every Gold Standard credit, past, present, and future, will continue to represent measurable, high integrity climate action that benefits people and nature. So this transition is not something we're doing it to the market, but we're doing with it and with you. Throughout 2025, we've been updating methodologies to ensure compatibility with Paris Agreement. Each methodology will undergo public consultation and, as you all know, technical advisory committee approval, following a transparent schedule published online. And we're taking a phased, open approach. We'll be listening to your feedback, refining guidance, and definitely providing clarity at every stage. While key dates are fixed, we welcome feedback on the process and mechanisms introduced. And we're also providing training and support for key stakeholders, such as VVBs, to help ensure they're equipped with the knowledge they need to audit updated project documentation in a timely and consistent manner. And we'll also have the training and support for you internally at Gold Standard. Gold Standard is the first major independent standard to fully align with Paris Agreement, and it's really important to note that Paris alignment does not mean following 6.4 PACM rules. This isn't about being first for the sake of it, but really about setting a strong foundation for the next generation of carbon markets, building the bridges between voluntary and compliance markets, as the accessibility in this fragmented market is becoming a huge challenge. Paris alignment is already emerging as the direction of travel, and we're really here ready, and we'll continue to innovate on the key topics shaping the market's future. And we want to do this with you through open dialogue, collaboration, and a shared commitment to high integrity, as always been our values and our core ways of working. So thank you very much, everyone, for joining us today.
Thanks, Maggie. And hi, everybody. I'm Owen Hewlett. I'm the Chief Technical Officer of the Gold Standard Foundation, and that's a role I've had for 11 years this year. And actually, I only mentioned that because it coincidentally maps in exactly onto the timeline that Maggie shared earlier of Paris through Glasgow, through Baku, up to today. And it's my firm belief that we, at the beginning of this year, move into a new era of all kinds of things, of corporate responsibility with science-based targets and the greenhouse gas protocol updates, of international climate and nature policy, with Baku leading us into the new era of PACM, and of the way the political winds blow, for example. And Gold Standard didn't start that new era in January. As Maggie showed, we were aware of the inevitable changes that Paris brings to our space way back in 2015. We announced it as a series of changes that we would be making as soon as they became firm in Glasgow in 2021. And in April this year, we further announced them as Baku had firmed up some of the key details for us. The counterfactual here obviously is difficult. Not acting, not making technical changes leaves Gold Standard and the projects it supports in a difficult position. As Maggie said, these are changes that are inevitable, but that doesn't mean we have to await them and let them happen to us. So I mentioned that we didn't start this new era in January, but have been working on it for the best part of 10 years. I think what we can learn from the CDM era, the Kyoto Protocol era, is that if you await the tools and rules from the international policy instrument, some of them are very good and very useful, but you can also get some that don't work practically particularly well. And you can also get some that lead to problems that aren't fixed. And so we really want to go into this era doing two things. One is to ensure that there is as smooth as possible transition, clarity, and ability for you all to plan. And the other is to lead so that we can make sure that the tools, the guidance, the methodological updates that are best led and controlled by us and our legitimacy and our experience and our ability to make things practical come out from the Gold Standard and are not imposed on us by other market forces. And it's my firm belief that we did a lot of that during the Kyoto era, and you can see it more so today with some of the updates that Vikas will share already being discussed in the context of UNFCCC updates themselves. So we're going to talk about two things with great credit to my team and to Vikas and his leadership. We'll be talking about the updates to the requirements across Gold Standard for the global goals. So how we think about the rule changes. And we'll also be discussing the process and the transition for those changes. Having clear rules and having a good transition really are the two key ingredients to a good outcome on this. What we won't be discussing in detail today is the specific changes in methodologies. And that's just because each individual methodology has its own space, its own world, its own academic background, and trying to go into each and every one of those will be unfeasible in the time that we have here. But rest assured, every single update has a huge reference library of information and thinking that's gone into it, and we will be able to provide those details. We won't be going into Q&A today, but we will be taking those questions and we will revert with further answers for the stuff that we don't cover. But we've done our best to cover all of the questions that have come into us so far. So before I hand over to Vikas, I just want to sort of flag that my view is that GS is in a really strong position to pioneer and lead these changes, to lead the market into this new era, to stop those that maybe don't have the best answers imposing them on the rest of us, but to still take the best of them when they do. And so I'm really excited for that. And I really do believe that we can learn from what's happened in previous eras and apply them here. But we also know it's not easy, and it's certainly not a trivial set of changes for Gold Standard itself or for any of you, either as VVBs or as project developers or as buyers trying to navigate those choppy waters as well. So we really appreciate your trust and reflection on these issues. We really appreciate that, just because something's not necessarily being caused by the part of the ecosystem that you're in, that doesn't necessarily make it easy or especially palatable. We think we've done a good job in analyzing those changes and trying to lead us through it. And hopefully we can convey some of that confidence and that clarity to you further today. So without further ado, I'd like to pass it over to Vikas. He'll take us through the changes and we'll remain on hand to support.
Thanks, Owen. Thanks, Maggie. I'll walk you guys through the requirements and the processes, and we have some questions that we received from the from you guys, and then we can look into other pending questions. Okay, so the core mandate and the requirement, as basically is part of, or the focus of this update, is to ensure that all the GSV are issued with the vintage of 1st January 2026 shall be issued from the project successfully validated and verified against the GS for GZ approved PA aligned methodology. PA aligned methodology here is more kind of like updated methodologies that Maggie and Owen referred to, will be issued over the period of time. Like we have issued a schedule for that. So this is these methodologies would be applied for the issuance of the credit post 2026. It does not affect the pre-2026 vintages. The project can apply the current methodology until the 31st December 2025 vintage as usual, without affecting the issuances or the processes. The changes apply to all project activities, whether the project is already certified or it is listed and undergoing validation or other processes or the program of activities and their VPAs. So this particular change will be applicable to all type of activities and all project activities. Then key dates here are basically two main key dates that we would like to flag. One is 1st January 2026. As I said, from this date onwards, the vintage issuance will be only with the PA aligned methodology. The submissions of the project for new project for validation purposes or listing purposes with non-PA aligned methodology will be accepted until 30th June 2026, and after that all the new project submissions would also be using the PA aligned methodology. In this case, all the projects that are basically going forward with the non-PA aligned methodology still have to apply with the key mandate, meaning the issuances for post 2025 vintage will be based on PA aligned methodology. The changes that are expected in the methodology are multifold. The key changes that will likely to affect the overall volume of the emission reduction and the eligibility of the project are basically dependent on several key factors. The main one that are going to will be the critical additionality, because the new PA rules are basically coming up with more conservative rules which enhance the integrity as well as a rigor of the assessment. So regulatory surplus is the change that will be applied under the new additionality rules. A decisive factor, meaning how critical the carbon revenue is for the success of the project, is also going to be the assessment criteria. So what it does is basically it narrows down the scope of credible activities. That means eligibility of activities will be dependent on these two critical aspects. Then comes the baseline. With the baseline, the PA itself calls for the conservative adjustments, and as the baseline should be below business as usual. There are certain sort of rules that will be applicable to all the project activities. One of them is mandatory downward adjustment. We have done a detailed, create and developed a detailed tool with the default values for downward adjustment for 188 countries. It is publicly available as of now. Going through the consultation, we would welcome your feedback on that. So this particular tool provides default values like what the downward adjustment will be for different countries. Then there are aspects around policies, like how to integrate the policies within your assessment so that baseline can clearly reflect the country specific situation. Both of these or all of these are going to basically affect the volume of emission reductions that could have been achieved with the non-PA aligned methodology. Then other aspect is more scrutiny and more robustness around the data, specifically leakage and other aspect. So leakage upstream, downstream, in current methodologies, this aspect is covered based on the relevance of the leakage. Going forward, all the methodology will be further strengthened to account the leakage aspect and also apply default deductions where it is uncertain, where the uncertainty exists following the uncertainty rules. All of these are likely to further impact the emission reduction. Then in terms of financial aspect and operationality of the project, with the assessment of these initial rules and its application, it is clear that there will be an impact on emission reduction. So developers should expect there will be fewer credits for the same performance as you apply the PA line methodology. The cost of validation, especially the PA line validation process, will also be borne by the project developer. So that is another aspect that developers should consider when they are looking into PA alignment. Then, in terms of the process is designed in a way that it can maximize. It can basically use the current ongoing certification kind of steps and to maximize the efficiency. Here, PA alignment validation is considered as design change. So the design change requirements or the rules will apply in this case. As a guidance for the developer here is that you should look at the schedule, the methodology schedule, which is already published, and we will be updating it every quarter, how things may move from here. As soon as the methodology is available, you should look for revising your PDD. There will be further guidelines around what aspect of the PDD is to be revised before you submit it for validation. We will be issuing these guidelines in coming months. So developers would look at those guidelines and then follow the process. The next step will be the validation. We will be conducting this validation. This is a design change. And once VEB has completed the validation, then you can submit it for us for gold standard review. Once the process is completed, the credits will be issued for post-2026 vintages. Some specific guidelines how the efficiency is basically ensured in the current provisions that we have included in this requirement. One is the combined audit. Developer can basically combine pre-2026 vintage and post-2026 vintages along with the validation process. Site visits can also be combined by the VEB. Here, the reports will be required to be submitted separately, but these different aspects can be combined together. When it is about pre and post 2025 vintage issuance, the same report can have both assessment. Here, the clear sort of demarcation of the assessment should be captured in the report, so that the application of methodology non-aligned and non-PA-aligned methodology can be cross-verified in an efficient manner. Then coming to the specific rules related to some of the project categories. One is the crediting period renewal. If your crediting period is due in coming year, then that will be the time mandatorily where you have to update the project with PA-aligned methodology if it is available. If the methodology is not available, then there will be a 6-month sort of time period allowed to submit your project. So that would not need any approval from gold standard side. You can extend, you can just delay the submission until the methodology is available. But that is something which we will be covering in the future updates in the rules itself to provide more clarity. Specifically for the POAs, POAs are to be updated along with the first VPA. First VPA, the real case VPA, to confirm the inclusion of the PA-aligned methodology in the POA, and also application of PA-aligned methodology for the future VPAs as well. Where real case VPAs are to be submitted first, you could combine the regular case VPAs, or you can submit the regular case VPAs in the batches at the later stage. The critical information will be, the critical aspect here will be to confirm the eligibility of VPAs with respect to the new changes that PA-aligned methodology is bringing. So that is something developers should look at when they are updating the first real case VPAs with the PA-aligned methodologies. Considering that this methodology update schedule is already out, but it is possible that there are some delays because of the overall review and approval processes. To address that issue, the requirement introduces a temporary procedural step which is called as deferred issuance. It does not need any action from the project developer. It is to basically manage the gap between availability of methodology and the project readiness for the issuances. So in this case, the key aspect that developers should look at is basically it's not a penalty, it's a procedural step to manage the methodology rollout. Once the methodology is available, the credit will be issued, so no credit will be lost during this period. However, the developers should continue with the monitoring as per the non-PA-aligned methodologies. Once the new methodology is available, that a retroactive assessment will be conducted, and accordingly volume will be decided or verified by the auditor. And as I said earlier, if there is a delay in the methodology, there will be an automatic exemption for the project developer to manage the submission deadline. In this case, we will be issuing more clarity, more guidelines, how it will be implemented. But this is also to manage the rollout and any potential delays for the submission because of the delays in the methodology approval and publication. This entire process in itself would need input from all the stakeholders and then readiness of all the stakeholder groups. It includes the VEB as well. The requirement set new requirements for the VEBs to validate the PA-aligned methodology application. So for VEBs, the requirement clearly requires them to go through a mandatory training, which is starting from Q4 this year. In this case, when VEB is a project PA-aligned validation is happening, then one of the team member must have completed this training, so that they can basically assess the changes as needed. However, some flexibilities are also introduced here to address any capacity issue. For example, like VEB rotation is not applicable in this case, meaning VEB rotation VB does not need to be a different one. The same VB who is doing the validation can also do the verification to maximize the kind of opportunity to fast track the processes as well. Then we have also published key resources along with the consultation document on requirements, FAQs, and guidelines and alignment schedule. That's all available on the consultation page. FAQs are basically covering all the potential sort of question that you may have. And if like you haven't submitted your question yet and you would like to seek further support from our side, you can reach out to our help desk at the email ID like help@thegoldstandard.org to seek further clarification. At this point, we did invite project developer to submit their question before the webinar. We received few of the questions. I'll go through those as well to add some clarity on these requirements and the processes. In the meantime, you can also submit your questions in the chat box. If we could cover, we will cover today. Otherwise, we'll get back to you after the webinar as well. So, few of the questions related to ongoing certification, whether the process affect the ongoing certification, especially the project activities that are undergoing validation or verification. And then they have started the process in 2025 and likely to complete the process in 2026. So in this case, a project currently in the middle of validation or verification may complete the specific cycle using non-PA aligned methodologies, under which the process begin, even if the finalization occurs after 1st January 2026. As I said earlier, the rules, PA aligned rules only are applicable for post 2026 vintage. Pre 2026 vintages can be continued, can follow the current processes and can be continued in the future years as well. If you have already started the process, do you need to stop it in between or pause in between or update your PDD? It is not a requirement from the processes. You may continue with the PDD validation processes currently. Update the PDD mid-cycle to comply with the new methodology if needed, if you want to do that, but it's not a requirement. So how it would plan out is like the ongoing validation and verification will allow you to continue with the issuances for pre-2026 vintages with non-PA aligned methodology. But for post-2025 vintages, you have to update the project documentation following the same requirement to ensure the alignment with the PA aligned methodology. Then few questions around, like one question around transition window, or whether there will be grace period for applying the old methodology to 2026 vintage. This is the most critical element. And as I said earlier, and Maggie also flagged that for post 2025 or 2026 and onward vintages, the ongoing certification processes does not allow you to issue the credit with non-PA aligned methodology. There is no grace period that allows project developer to do so, and there will not be any further sort of like deviations or a transition window that will enable us enable the issuances with with non-PA aligned methodology. So the bottom line here is that all 2026 and onwards vintages will only be issued with PA aligned methodology, irrespective when the project entered in the cycle, irrespective when the project is going through the certification processes. I mentioned earlier that we have some flexibility, introduced some flexibility. Some of these questions are reflecting those. One is around can the project developer combine the validation with the regular verification? Yes, this is pretty much what we are also recommending, that if you have ongoing regular verification, you should think of aligning the PA peer alignment validation, so that it can be managed in a more efficient way, especially for the VEBs, considering the audit requirements and also the overall work to be done to complete this process. It's highly recommended, but it is kind of optional for the project developer to make a choice whether they want to first complete the validation and then do the verification separately. To manage these processes, you could submit both to gold standard in parallel, at the same time. But we would not be doing the reviews in parallel. We will be doing in a sequential manner, wherein we will focus more on P-aligned design change first before before reviewing the verification report of a submission, where both are accounted in the same report. Then for monitoring and reporting, the key question that we have received from the project developer, like can the pre-2025 or 2026 vintages are allowed to basically combine same report. This is possible, and this is very much welcome that you do this if possible, if you want to do that. In this case, the only requirement is that pre-2026 and post-2026 plus vintages should be separately quantified, because methodology requirements are different. So you should basically clearly lay down the information in a way that confirms the compliance with the PA and non-PA line methodology. The same report can have these two set of information. So that is, again, to have some level of efficiency in the processes. Then issuances, as I said, issuances are possible. In the same way, you can request the issuances if a project submits the both and seek pre-2026 vintage issuances. That is also possible. It's partial issuance, that what we are calling. You could do that as well. But post-2026 vintage, again, is going to be only based on PA-aligned methodology. So that's pretty much all from my side. Owen, back to you.
Yeah, thank you, Vikas. Thank you for such a thorough overview. And we see that there is, excuse me, my voice is going, a large number of questions in the Q&A. So what we'll do is we're going to go through those thoroughly and revert with written answers to make sure that we're being consistent. And we'll obviously publish those to the website rather than to tackle them ad hoc today. The consultation is still open, so you can still provide your feedback and ask further questions. So please do take advantage of that. It's great to see such engagement on such challenging and opportune moment in the carbon market. So please do keep those coming in. But that's all from us for now. I don't know, Maggie, if you wanted to say a few words of thanks as well. Otherwise, we'll close the webinar. Oh, you're on mute, Maggie.
Thank you, Owen, and thank you, Vikash, for the walkthrough. I'm seeing really good questions on the chat. So as Owen said, we'll summarize them, we'll respond to them, and we'll publish it on our website. And then we are having lots of discussions with project developers, consultants, VVBs as we speak. So please respond to the consultation, open consultation, formally as well. One of the things a lot of you mentioned to me directly, indirectly, over the phone, over emails, is capacity concern on some of these surge issues. Obviously, it is a big lift, not only for project developers and VVBs and consultants, but also for Gold Standard as well. So we have been, as we said, we have been planning on this surge and this transition for quite some years. So we are doing our best to simplify our internal processes as well as get resources and experts group ready so that we can drive this transition as smooth as possible. and we won't be committing to any sort of extended timeline or very different ways of doing. Hope to continue working as per our current working, and hope to sort of meet that standard of working, including the fees. So we will get back to you after the consultation closes on some of the learnings and some of the changes, or non-changes, depending on how the consultation result goes, and very much look forward to getting back to you and continuing on this journey with you. Thank you very much.
Thanks, everybody.
Thank you.